But it's like, is it a country album? Who cares? She wanted to wear cowboy stuff. That's enough for a pop star. Well, I guess it's two questions. Okay. So we're getting back into it. It's two questions. One question. Did you play Monopoly as a child? Or
I did. I did.
Second question. Did you play Pokemon Monopoly?
No, but I saw them. I never played Pokemon Monopoly.
Danny, I'm going to tell you, you should get it now. Because I think you'd love it. Just in general. But I wanted to ask you about Monopoly because what would be your favorite piece to play in the classic Monopoly?
I really like the top hat.
It's always the top hat. Everyone's answer it's the top hat. That's the best piece. I don't think I've ever heard anybody answer that question differently. I was going to try to say it as you were saying.
Some people like the dog.
No, dude. But if you're playing Monopoly, you want the top hat. You want the top hat.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
Now, I guess a third follow-up. Did you ever, in your whole life, finish a game of Monopoly?
Once. Literally one time. Literally one time.
I don't think I ever did.
And
I think it would get...
And I'm pretty sure we didn't play it right.
Of like bullying, like someone starts to... You know, you're bullying the youngest on the table to like trick them into giving you all your money, and then they get mad, flip over. You know, constantly that's how board games end. Is children literally flipping the board over and going home. Danny, we're going to be talking about more Monopolies today.
Whew.
Because this is the DMGT podcast.
Excellent transition. This is the DMGT podcast. My goodness, Spencer, that was phenomenal.
Well, you know, let me just dust off my old podcasting boots.
Part of me was like, is there some new Pokemon in Monopoly that I'm not aware of? Or I thought you were about to talk about Monopoly Go, the new app, because people have been going
No, see, I would have, if you would have played Pokemon Monopoly, I would have went into like what would be your favorite thing to buy in Pokemon Monopoly. You know, like, because it's like instead of the railroads, it's whatever they are. I don't know. Are they like Snorlaxes or some shit? I don't know. Poke Centers? Yeah, it's hard to say. Yeah. Maybe a Poke Rail. I don't remember. But I do
I'm looking at some of them.
It had that. This is something related to Pokemon smell when you opened it. It hit like a booster pack, weirdly enough.
Oh, I see. Maybe
you know
it's
what I
something
mean?
to do with
you
the
know
ink
that
they
smell.
Use. Yeah.
You know the smell. Oh man, nothing hits like your first boost. Chasing the dragon the whole time.
We're talking about Pokemon cards here, people. What are we talking about today? We got a few things because it's a couple of weeks, so we got to catch up on some things. We got to hit.
We're not trying to cram that much, okay?
No, we're not trying to cram that much.
Okay.
We got to hit the Beyonce album.
Oh yeah, because I was on multiple plane rides with that, so I've listened to it several.
Yes,
times.
I'm like 3 listens in. Dragon's Dogma 2, we're a week and 2 weeks into the release?
Yep.
So we got to talk about Dragon's Dogma 2, and then the old Monopoly game of real life. The US and basically the EU, it seems like every other month, against Apple.
Let me just say, spoiler alert, my favorite government action is an antitrust suit. I love them. I think
Spicy.
They're my favorite part of the government. Maybe the only part of the government I enjoy.
Oh, this is not ironically. You actually do.
No, it's a really good thing when we say you can't all just do it only. It almost always in some way works out for us. And weirdly enough, spoiler alert, maybe it's how it helped Apple work out initially. There's some really interesting stuff with this antitrust suit.
All right, you really know some stuff here. This is perfect. Because
dude, if I got a tattoo, it'd be freaking Glass-Steagall.
Oh God.
And I'm not even sure if that's the right thing, but if it is, nice pull.
Good job. Let's start off with Beyonce's album, Cowboy Carter, baby, because that's out. Lots of reactions in the group chat this weekend. We didn't really get you chiming in that much, except for like a little bit. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts, because I am 3 listens in. I still pretty much feel the same way as far as liking the second half of the album better than the first half. The first half to me feels a lot more country inspired. And maybe that's why I'm not like the biggest fan of that first half. And the second half feels a little bit more experimental. It feels a little bit more, she's having fun with things. The production, I think, was really cool. Some of the features are really dope. And now that like all the all the production and writing credits are out for it as well, it's like I wonder if people's opinions are going to change on some things, because obviously we won't talk about this one. That, well, I don't know. The old middle America folks are like, this isn't real country. You actually can't be doing real country.
Yeah. Really quick, I will say Glass-Steagall is not the Antitrust Act. That would have been sick. Don't use it as a clip. I'll get got, and honestly, I can't have that kid out. I think you're right. It's like, let's start with a little bit of the controversy and then like go into it a little bit, because we just gotta at least talk about it. So I like people who are mad about Beyonce releasing it and calling it a country album, or talking about being upset about the genreization that Beyonce chose with this rollout.
Yes.
And like what she is saying, what the album is saying with its words, its lyrics, blah, blah, blah. If you're just mad that it's Beyonce doing a like country album or calling something country, okay, here's my answer to that controversy. I don't care what you think at all. So, like, not even going to go into it more than that. So, do we need to say anything else?
Nope.
Yeah, right?
Perfect.
It doesn't matter. Perfect. Those people don't need to control how I think about anything.
Perfect.
But, and this is one of those.
Oh, no.
I realize saying but in that situation is like, oh, no. Because the but's always a bad thing. But I will say, I don't know if I would, like, if I was the genre version of a cinephile, where I'm like all about categorization of movies, right?
It feels very early 2000s to me. It feels such a 90s 2000s thing where it's like, no, this is this and this is that.
It doesn't mean, it's like, we're in the era of they, them. Like, we have all just come to the conclusion, at least people that aren't on the controversial side, that it's like, sometimes we don't have the best words for stuff.
Fluidity is cool.
Yeah,
like, makes for interesting things.
Yeah, it's like sometimes, it doesn't. That one doesn't fit. That one doesn't fit. So I'm just going with sometimes it's the line of best fit, right? Yeah. Now, but I will say, I mean, like, I think it's a country influenced album, just like a lot of music that I like is from all sorts of different types of artists. I think there are country songs on it.
Yes,
like for sure. But I would say, like, on the whole, I don't know if you could call it a country album, just because she's doing 3 to 4 versions of country on this. She's doing old country. She's doing like old country, meaning like the roots of country, the roots of the word cowboy, like
very
Blackbird
Americana
is very
almost.
clear. Yeah. Like Blackbird, is about an atrocity towards black people that was what Paul McCartney wrote. It's like she's going before country, quote unquote country, like Elvis and Johnny Cash and all that, June Carter. But she does also, I think, like this is either how Christine put it to me or something she saw. So not sure which one is the source. She's like, it's almost like it's 3 sections. The first section is kind of like showing you, here's like kind of what country currently is ish, because country does have a little bit of a hip hop influence right now.
Yeah.
Like country, Old Town Road, all that. And then it's like the second one is kind of like the second half is showing more of this is what country was. It's a little bit like where Dolly is coming in and talking, and there's the Jolene cover, or kind of, let's call it like
reimagination
sequel cover.
Yeah.
Something like that. And then the final kind of like section of the album is like where Beyonce is interested in pushing the boundaries of what we can consider country.
Agree.
I think that's a really good way to put it. I don't know if that's Christine. I mean, geez, super smart wife. If it's someone that Christine follows, also super smart wife for telling me that so succinctly.
Yeah.
But it's like, is it a country album? Who cares? She wanted to wear cowboy stuff. That's enough for a pop star.
Yeah,
It doesn't need to actually mean anything. And then when you read the lyrics and everything, you're like, oh no, this actually does mean a lot more than is on the surface of Beyonce wants to wear a cowboy hat. Because let's just say it. She looks great in cowboy stuff.
She looks great in cowboy stuff. Yeah. Looks awesome.
Like, it's Beyonce.
It's goddamn Beyonce. No, that I think that's a good point. We had dinner on Saturday night and with some of our friends, and like I think that part of that conversation came up of like, yeah, it's very clearly country inspired. I thought of it more like akin to, remember Coloring Book, because this was a whole debate about like gospel. And I know I'm not gonna try. I'm not gonna try to get you fired up.
No. I know. I'm trying not. That was a breathe out of just like, don't do it.
I know.
This is don't do it.
But for
I don't
me,
think he's trying to bait.
It's like I wouldn't call Coloring Book or even any song like gospel songs, but they were very clearly some of them had like some gospel inspiration, some gospel like juice into it. Pun not intended. This one feels like that, but it definitely goes a little bit further into country, I would say. That said, I'm not a country avid listener. I don't know much about the genre as a whole, its history. I'm like learning a lot about it.
Not super into the culture.
No, not really. There's like literally 2 artists that call themselves country that I enjoy. So yeah, I'm not an expert on it, but for me, I'm like, I don't know. This sounds like all the country stuff a little bit, but she's doing cool stuff with it. I get the inspiration and not so much the genre label specific of like this, boom, country album. Like if some people are going to say, inspired, less like firm in the genre, I think that's cooler. And I think it's better for it.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing is that like genre in popular music right now is super liquid. Because like, we're kind of in a everything can happen if you want, we don't care era of the world, like because of the world right now. It's just like everyone's like, oh yeah, do you want to wear like purely like clothes from the 80s and look like that? Cool. Like and then you're right next to a person that is dressed super modernly in like the like a dad or a mom style, and then you have like someone who's like, no, I'm just doing 90s throwback, and then you're just like, who cares? Like, do you feel good, look good for yourself? Cool. And I think like with music's been doing that for so long, especially pop music. Like all pop artists do this kind of thing where, at least in modern pop, they'll give you like, oh, here's my this album, here's my this album. It's not always genre. Like sometimes it's character, right? But like Folklore is literally Taylor Swift saying, hey, I'm doing a folk album. Yeah. Would you call that album a folk album?
Yeah.
Right.
It's her folk album.
It's her folk album. And this is Beyonce's.
This is Beyonce's country
album.
Yeah.
So now that we're, I think, through the genre definition part, which I do love.
I mean, it's
genre definition with music. You know what my favorite genre is, just to say to people to make them mad? Anti-folk.
Oh boy.
It's one of my favorite genres to just like be like if you hear someone say a band, you're like, oh, that's like one of my favorite anti-folk artists. And they'll be like, sorry, what was that?
What?
It's like it's folk rock, but they're mad about most of it. But it's like they're strumming on a little
Spencer
guitar.
loves his folk music.
Only when it's anti. Speaking of it, no. That would be a good transition, but we have a different topic.
Yeah, yes.
But no,
yes.
Beyonce, I will say, Danny, Most Wanted is enough to sell the album as a success for me.
Most Wanted it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's like a track of the year level track. And Danny, I will say, the first time I listened to it, I thought for a second that they switched their harmony parts in the second chorus.
It was cool.
They don't.
I know,
but had they done that, I would have ripped my phone in half. Because it would have been the coolest moment in music, like maybe ever, because it somehow made it seem like it was. But what a song.
That's funny, because that's literally what I consider the start of the second half. Mm-hmm. Most Wanted. Because it's so good. For me, Riverdance is really cool. I personally really like Tyrant, specifically Tyrant going into Sweet Honey Buckin'. Yeah. Is super cool. It felt like a beat switch, but it was like a proper old school song track switch. So I don't know. It was just really fun. Also, for the record, Jolene, Beyonce's version, Dolly Parton's got writing credits on it.
Of course she does. It's Jolene.
Signed off.
Yeah, it's like
no. She helped rewrite.
Oh, literally rewrite.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because
now everyone is like mad about it.
I imagine like people that are like trying to like be all mad about the Jolene part, because it's like, oh, it's like changing the meaning of whatever, blah blah blah. It's like, well, art is an interpretation, you idiots. So there is no literal right answer. So if Beyonce took it this way and is just that's what she took and that's what she's doing, or she's saying, I'm doing it different. This is what I want to do. This is the Jolene of my life. This is what I need to say.
I like when people do that.
It's fun. It's like a little more fun than just a straight cover, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But of course, Dolly Parton was nice and helpful and supportive.
Yes,
it's
of course.
Dolly Parton. Like,
well, and she's also like on record, like
she's literally on the record. She's on the record saying like, "Oh, Beyonce, you're great, you're fun," or whatever. She's like saying,
"Cover Jolene."
Yeah, it's before Jolene. It's
before, yes.
And they're like, "I think Dolly Parton's mad." I'm like, I don't know if you've listened to it.
I don't,
because she's on it.
Yeah, literally. Let's talk about we're gonna switch it up on you here, folks. We're gonna go back to nerd shit, because it's been a while and we haven't really talked about this at all. Dragon's Dogma 2. How many hours in are you? I know you were away for a bit.
Like 10 to 15, somewhere around there. Okay.
I'm closer to like 30.
Yeah, that makes sense. I kind of lost a week. Danny, I've been trying to, because this is like one of those things we haven't talked about. I've been trying to figure out, since we've missed a couple podcasts with it out, I've been like being like, how am I going to describe how I'm feeling about this?
Yes.
It's been really complicated to figure out. And
fair.
I don't know if this is the right, I'm going to try this and then we'll see if this is what I actually think. It's like as frustratingly dense or obscure or obtuse as Elden Ring.
Obtuse is the right word. Yeah.
Right? Like, and then it's like super janky in a lot of ways that aren't explained, right? And like that. And it's like also grabbing a lot of the stuff from like Baldur's Gate 3 that stressed me out a little bit, like all the management of weight. Yeah, like I'm not big into weight management. It's so annoying because I am a pick up every single thing all of the time person.
Yep.
And then it's like, and then the combat, I'm like, do I love, do I think this game is being mean? So that's what I think. That's where I'm at right now.
It's, I think that's a good way of putting it. But I think once you push through a little bit more, and you will, right. But like,
yeah.
It is one of the in a vacuum, a lot of the decisions that they made with its mechanics would extremely frustrate me and be like, this is stupid in most games, I would say.
Yeah.
The reason why the jankiness works for me is because it feels like that is part of the experience.
I think it's like
and it like starts coming together a little bit with, oh, okay, it's like you said, I think you said maybe on one of our deleted ones, or you texted me or something. It's like sometimes it feels like, you just stop looking at the quest markers and just do stuff, and that starts working out a little bit more. But then you kind of have to look at, like, read the quest description and everything, because, like, hey, you have to go find this person or talk to whatever or grab something from a place, so you kind of have to go to the area. But along the way, like, I ran into a dragon, not just like on a normal way to a quest. I was like, okay, so I'm gonna find my first dragon, and I got rocked.
Oh yeah,
immediately. I was like, oh
yeah,
oh, you can't beat the dragons.
I was terrified of that dragon. I was like, I gotta avoid this dragon.
But I enjoyed how it's difficult in a different sense than Elden Ring, because Elden Ring is challenging you with, like, attack patterns and learn the attack patterns and the combat and the movements. This one's more like, these are the resources you have, and that's it, and figure it out. And as you're losing health, you gotta, like, question, like, all right, do I keep pushing a little bit further? Do I find a campfire to set up camp? Ah, shit, I lost my camp because some monsters attacked and I had the cheap one or whatever.
Right.
I think that aspect, once I'm, like, fully got over that hump of, like, just let myself be carried and just let things happen in the game and, like, be more intentional about my decisions, then it's like it's working a little bit more.
I think the thing that has been striking me the most about this is that the game has a really good system of consequences for your choices, right? And a lot, I think the frustration comes from, for a lot of people, of being caught in the choice you made with it ruining your experience at the moment. Like, an example for me, didn't really totally understand the early quest. Like, this isn't a spoiler, it's like within the first, like, time you can do quests, it's like you got to go, like, talk to this guy that's in prison, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we'll let you down here. And then it's like, like, the captain told us, but the guards down there might not have the same feeling, right?
Yes.
So the first time I go in there, I'm like, well, how am I? It doesn't tell me which one the person's in. So I was like, okay, but I also don't have any stealth mechanic that I have no availability of a stealth mechanic. So I was like, instantly, the entire city got mad at me. The entire city. I'm talking, like, women, children, everybody was just ready to fucking fight me. And then I leave the city. I run out, right? And then I'm in the fields outside the city. All the farmers are also, they're like, who the fuck is that? Get out! God! And I run and run and run and run and run and run. And they keep chasing me until finally, like, only it was like one or two. And I was like, I gotta kill you. You don't get any experience points for killing the town folk. That's what I learned, because I killed a lot of them trying to escape. Get 0 experience points for murdering people indiscriminately. And then I finally get to, like, a campfire, and then I realize I go back, same shit happens. Literally, I get to the gate and they're like, who the fuck is that? Get him! Right? Like, literally, like, that's what happened. And then so I'm like, what? How? I'm like, did I just burn the hub town? Is this the main place? I was like, there's no way that they can stay this mad at me. And then I realized, I have to, like, camp for like 4 to 5 days for them to forget me. Like, and that was like an hour and a half of just panic. Just being like, okay, what if I just run all the way in, get to there, run down, see if the cutscene will save me? Like, it was, and it's like, that is where the Elden Ring stuff comes in for me, where I'm like, if I didn't have the thought of sometimes games do this to you.
Yeah.
Or if I expected something different because I hadn't, like, researched what this game was trying to go for before it came out, that could make me really frustrated. But instead it turned into, I was like, that was so annoying, but also kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
story.
It is. And it's like, it's a lot of it is like, it's sort of this game being like, hey, all the rules and, like, patterns that you are accustomed to in most video games, because, to be honest, most video games are trying to coddle you as much as possible.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to be like, no, I want to be the one winning literally all the time. This game does it differently from Elden Ring, where it's like, no, you do something and then shit happens, and then that's it. You made that. You made that decision.
Yeah. Emergent gameplay. Emergent gameplay.
Emergence. That reminded me.
Dude, seriously, how many more? Like, aside from AI, it's like the only thing I hear when I watch any, like, look at anything. We're looking for emergent gameplay.
Emergent gameplay.
And it's AI assisted. Of course it is.
So, some of it is annoying and some of it is frustrating though, because you're right. Like sometimes getting like stun locked basically by a bunch of, if you get jumped by a bunch of goblins and a pack of wolves suddenly are there. Oh shit, you're screwed because you keep falling over to keep stun locking you basically. I had a similar thing happen. Where I kept dying to wolves. Oh, my pawns had died. Wolves were chasing me, and the place where it saved, and I didn't want to go all the way back to the inn save point, obviously. So that's me being stubborn too.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, that's like that will always be my choice.
Reloaded, like it spent like an hour trying to run past the same bridge because the wolves kept chasing. I was like, no, what if I go this way this time? If I go that way this time?
And that's that's the thing. I think part of it is we are broken. Because that sounds insane. Like, it really does. Like, and like the idea that I haven't told anybody that story yet that I just said, but I was like, I know you'll get it.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then you tell me the same fucking story about you trying to go over a ridge. It's like, yeah. We are not using our time wisely all the time when we're playing, like, most of the time. Like, I want the dumbest stuff to happen. Like, because that's what gives you those crystallizing moments of, that's a memory I get to have playing a video game, and that's why I play video games. Yeah. Like, it's literally why. Like, I can still remember the time where me and my buddy Kyle were crawling across the map in Battlefield 3 or 4, whichever one, that had the dynamic, what would they call it? They called it something like dynamic change thing, like where the maps would change halfway through or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the one where, like, this huge like tower thingy, like real silo tower, like falls down, and like we had not played it before, but we were really into just like, what if we crawled this entire match? And so like we're like doing that, and then we like look up, and the thing's coming down, and we're like, no way, it's coming down on us, no way, and then we're just screaming, ah! And it's like one of the funniest things that's ever happened to me in a video game, because I didn't even know that was supposed to happen. Like games that give you that, it does sometimes come from, you don't have to do it this way. You know what I mean? Like the idea of, you can have your own fun in games that have clear objectives and reasons to play.
Yeah.
I think like to switch to like, I think we both like Dragon's Dogma. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
I think it's a really good game. I'm excited to play it more. I really like how different all the characters feel. Like when you like respec and stuff, it's really impressive how different they can feel. I think like the combat, I'm like, you can always, if you hate feeling like you're getting bowled over, just like become an archer and like stand far away.
Yeah.
And then just spam.
What classes have you done so far?
I've done some mage, or like is it mage, the first one?
Yeah,
like
mage. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I've switched over to the archer for a majority because I'm doing that like early elf quest line that kind of apparently gives you something real good.
Yeah.
I saw Vidya Vita, the YouTube guy. He was like, by the way, don't just do that. It's cool. And I was like, all right.
Cool. So, I mean, I haven't done that, so I gotta go back, I guess.
Yeah, you gotta go back to you gotta go find him and then find him again, and then guess what? You have to find him again.
It's I went mage, and then I leaned in, and I'm like a sorcerer, and I'm trying to max that out. I think one of my favorite things is the augments that you get in the different classes are permanent. Yeah. So like you can stack up different or mix and match the different classes. So I'm gonna try to go for like I'm trying to unlock the magic
double-sided
spear. No, the double-sided spear person.
Spell spear?
Something
like magic spear?
Something like that. Like Magispear, something like that.
They're fantasy stuff.
Whatever.
Yeah, I think it's really weird because like so much of this game is like not trying to help you out. But then it's like, but you can like respec with like really no downsides and like do it whenever it makes sense for you.
And it's pretty easy. Like you
and
get the points for that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Like so it's it balances it out. It balances it out with some of the stuff. So
yeah,
I'm like okay with it.
Now, I will say, I don't understand how to play this game. I will say that, and then I will say on the negative side, Danny, just because it's not.
Yeah,
I don't think this is not an Elden Ring where I'm like,
no.
Even the flaws I don't care about because it's so good. It is definitely a good game. It is not a phenomenal game. It is. I would be surprised if at the end of the year this is like my game of the year, unless I really get into it in the next like 20 hours, which maybe I do. But it's like it's a good game for me right now. I have not hated a map this much since I don't even know when, man.
Why don't you like the map?
I don't like how it toggles from a local view to a world view, and you can't do that in a singular map.
Oh, the mini map thing, yeah.
Because it's like to really see where you need to go, you have to go. It goes into that local map, and the local map is sometimes really still really big. Yeah, but then sometimes it's like the local map is like this one little place. And then you're like, wait, but how does this relate to that place? And it's like, no, you got to look for like the piss stain. Because the piss stain on the bigger map is kind of the area in which the local map will happen. So you got to like look for piss stains on this map all the time. I don't like how it like orients
that's
you. I've tried it keep pointing north. I've tried it rotate. I can't figure out how to move around. I'm constantly missing streets. I can't understand it. And then why in a map that is mostly white, and especially the pathways are white, do you make the indicator of where you are white with like the smallest outline? I have horrible vision, and know what's really bad with horrible vision is like fine detail like that. Because like my eyes don't see it right.
It's not great. It's not
insane.
Great. You're
it's
absolutely
insane.
right. You're absolutely right.
And then I will also say, how dare you not have any accessibility settings in 2024? That's like a thing that like makes me less excited about this game overall. There's not a single bit of it.
That is an extremely valid point.
There's not even the colorblind setting, because I'm like, oh, there has to be a colorblind setting. What game would not have that? Because I'll just change my marker.
Yep.
They don't even have that.
That's
atrocious. It's atrocious. That's
like Capcom being
ableist.
a little too like sticking to their guns a little too firmly.
Yeah, it's insane.
Stubborn just for the sake of being stubborn, basically. Yeah. I also don't love how often the goddamn pawns are like, yo, look at that thing.
Yo,
like, what? Where? What the fuck are you talking about?
Are you talking about that one ladder in like the middle of the city where like every time you pass like the shops, it's like, oh, there's a ladder there. There's a ladder there. I'm like, yeah, we go up it every time we're here. We always go up it because you say there's a ladder here, and then I say let's go up it, and then you just keep asking me about it, and I found the chest. I found it. Stop it.
I made a TikTok about that because like. I found that pretty annoying super quickly. People liked it. It got like 10,000 views. So, but still, it's like, okay, cool. So this is resonating with literally everyone basically that's playing this game, because
there is not. I mean, I think you could count on 2 to 3 fingers NPC characters talking that doesn't suck. Like,
yeah,
it's always bad. It's always bad, and this one is like. I like they're like, hey, I'll go do shit for you. And I'm like, all right. I'm like, can I just put that to auto on where you just like, I don't have to tell you, okay, I agree.
Yeah.
Just go run your bullshit. I don't care.
Do it.
I honestly don't care about you. You're a pawn. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I don't need to say yes to go get me shit that might make you die. I don't care if you die.
Yeah,
in fact, I hope you do. That's what right? Because I'm going to trade you out for something better.
Yeah, you're constantly trading them out.
You don't matter to me. You can go jump into the middle of the earth and melt.
Oh my god.
I don't care. But if you give me a little, if you keep asking me about that ladder, I'm going to shove the ladder inside your brain.
Correct. Oh my goodness. Look, I'm having a good time with it. I don't think I have a clear, I mean, it's April 2nd as we're recording this. I don't have a clear cut game of the year winner right now. It's probably between this and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. You know what?
Yikes.
Helldivers 2 is probably
Helldivers
like,
2, yeah.
You know, you give it some consideration for sure. But hey, it's early in the year, and this is how I felt. I learned my lesson last year.
Yeah,
man, so.
This is giving me big, like, kind of like a Diablo 4 vibes from last year, where it's like initial pop, and then I'm like, well, we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see how the rest of this goes, because at the time when we started Diablo, we were like, we're cut out for everything else. This is tight. And then by the end, we were like, I don't think I like that game.
Yeah. They really screwed that up. They really did.
This could be one of those. So, Danny, antitrust lawsuits.
Whew.
Pretty exciting stuff. I will say the missive that was released, the 88 pages, most of it relatively easy to understand. Didn't read the whole thing, but like I was like, okay, this was written for kind of normies to read for most of it. Kind of the main points are pretty clear. And I'm like, don't know how you fight any of this. Like, just like straight up, it's like, it's all exactly what you said you were doing.
It's
like it's almost,
honestly, like, again, as like, for me as more of a, consumer of tech and follower of tech news in general, like at a relatively higher level, and knows nothing about the law really, this is like, so like, I was like, this is DOJ's got a solid case here, man. They got a really strong case. Yeah. I think it also helps that like the EU has set quite a bit of a precedent of like forcing Apple to do things. So like maybe they went and looked at how they were handling some of that stuff. But yeah, all of it is like, yeah, most of this is true. Just straight up true.
Yeah, it's like, no.
Why is it impossible for me to text with, our friends that use Android? It's a
choice. It was purely a choice. That's all it was.
Strictly a choice, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's not because it's impossible, because it's not impossible. It's as simple as, here's an app that does that. That's it. That's all it is. And it's a choice to not do it. Yeah, it's I think it's interesting because it's also like, I mean, how could you not call what Apple is doing specifically with the iPhone as close to a monopoly as you can get? Because on the other side, like there was a long time where Samsung felt like the other monopoly in the cell phone game.
Yeah.
Now like with Google entering, it's actually like diversified even more. And I think there's like the whole thing, Android means choice, iPhone means iPhone, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's like very, when half of everybody basically has your thing, probably not a fair market for people to join, right? And like the whole thing about antitrust lawsuits that the DOJ brings and trying to break up monopolies, and these are, these are things that have been weakened over time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If you go back to really any time in America that we would call the good times, right? Any generation hearkening back to that better America, quote unquote. Especially like when we're talking post-war, all that stuff, through the 60s, 70s, 80s-ish started where it kind of came the other way. But that was when we were breaking shit up, and we had stronger laws to prevent these things. And it's the craziest thing. Like we were never really more of a socialist type of country than like during the lead up to World War II and World War II. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And that is the thing that people call the best time in America or whatever. So like you have these systems in place, and you have like a Department of Justice that actually wants to do this stuff with the Biden administration, right? And you start to see, I think this is like the third one the DOJ for Biden has brought up to the courts. And the cool and interesting thing and weird thing about this is like kind of the iPod was kind of birthed because of, I believe, like the Clinton administration pushing a breakup of some of Microsoft.
Yeah.
because Microsoft in the 90s had a true stranglehold on everything technology, and that's kind of what helped open up some share of the market for Apple, and Apple was able to grow more quickly right around that same time. And it's like very, very interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's funny how they find themselves in that position now too, because a lot of this comes down to, and like some of it is like whatever, but like a lot of this comes down to is just like option, just literally just the option, and make it as easily usable. Other services. It's like how easy it is because Windows still owns like a ton. Like basically
Yeah.
they still dominate the desktop and laptop space. But like for them, it was like, yeah, you can use whatever goddamn browser you want and make sure that like the settings allow you to set your preferred browser. Something as simple as that, I think, which iPhone has done now, but it's still.
But recently, have you noticed all your settings for go to Google Maps has gone back to Apple Maps, and now there's not the Google Maps option?
So like,
I'm so mad about
it's really annoying. It's really annoying.
So annoying.
But it's like that's the shit though. That's the shit that they're basically talking about here. And it's like nothing goes like if you're like, but I'm like so hardcore in my Apple ecosystem and everything works, you're not gonna lose anything. Just you're not gonna be locked down to the other thing. I think one of the biggest things about this is like if you look at it competitively and a little bit more analytically with its tech, it's like, does the Apple Watch survive, even become a thing without the iPhone? And I think the answer is no.
And does the iPhone happen without the iPod? Like you can I don't think it does, because a lot of what came into the iPod was from the iPhone. Wasn't the iPod Touch like right before it? Or was it right after?
No, it was right after.
I thought they were like testing it out. Okay, never mind. Never mind. I was a Zune guy.
Yeah. There it is.
I literally was, man. I loved Zune.
So I think this is fine. Like I think Apple losing the Epic Game Store stuff. Mm-hmm. It's honestly they did this. They shot themselves in the foot by being so damn restrictive with that Epic Game Store thing of like, no. You can't let anyone know that you also offered a subscription on your website because we want that 30%.
Yeah.
That 30%'s got to stay here.
Yep.
So literally it was just them being that greedy on that front that now the DOJ and the US government went like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Are they doing this with other stuff too? And it's like, the answer was yes.
I think it's really tough because like, the idea of free market competition, right? Like is the thing that capitalism is all about.
Claims,
quote unquote, right?
About, yeah.
And so it's always interesting in these times when these types of things come out, especially with like something like Apple that has so many fan people like that are super, like Apple's probably the only company you see where people put it on the back of their car. You know what I mean? Right. Like, and that's not uncommon to see. Little Apple logo. The thing is, it's good when this happens for anyone who has an idea about something in the space that they're breaking up, right? Because like, if you're not a hugely established company right now, like it's pretty hard to make a cell phone, right? There's the nothing phones, right? But they were like kickstarted back and like, they're getting things out. I think they're on their like second or third actual version you can buy, but it's like, that was probably really hard to do in today's ecosystem of everything runs through either the Android store or the Apple store. Like to do something on your own is almost impossible, but it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Like if you're scared of someone, like this is my thing with antitrust lawsuits and like everybody getting mad. Like I can't believe, no, Apple is great at what they do. They shouldn't be punished for creating such a vertically integrated system. It's like, okay, cool. Again,
you still
it's like the Beyonce
that,
country people. It's like, cool. So you just taught me I'm not gonna listen to you, because, like, come on, like